Hey everybody, we are so excited because we are doing a special Melanated Faith bonus episode only for those who are our Patreon supporters, which are all of you. And we're so excited, and you get to see us on video. So this is going to be fun. Don't worry, this is not going to take a whole lot of your time, but we do want to talk to you all about Black Panther because somebody actually requested this. They said, do an episode about Black Panther. This was pre Chadwick. I just finished crying about that, about his death and everything. So my heart's a little tender. So hopefully I don't cry on this video. But here we are talking about Black Panther right after the death of our king. Our
I know.
king. It's so sad.
It's so sad. And I watched ABC last, to celebrate, showed Black Panther without commercial, and then they ran a special on his life. And the scene where he his resurrection scene, when he's like and I think Shuri says he lives, I was just like in tears because I was like, this is not real. Like, he is alive. This is not real. And thankfully through movies like Black Panther and, Jackie Robinson, his 42 and Get On Up and The Five Bloods, he still, he lives on, but it was, so it's so hard to, sorry about that, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm so distraught I knocked over my microphone. But yeah, it was so hard. That is like probably Black Panther is one of probably my all-time favorite movies, and it just takes on a new meaning now.
It does. Oh my gosh. Okay, so what are some of the major themes of the movie? If you haven't seen the movie, this is going to be a spoiler, so don't listen further until you watch the movie.
And I feel like the movie has been out for 2 years now, so really get your life. Really, honestly. It's on Disney Plus. Like, come on, guys, get with it. I think for me, the major themes of the movie. Okay, so I'm gonna maybe start with like kind of like behind the scenes things first. So I think a couple of things that are really important is the idea that Wakanda, like the world that Ryan Coogler and his collaborator envisioned, had never been colonized. Wakanda is basically their vision of what Africa, or what that like a African country that had never been colonized would be like. So they have the world's most advanced technology. Shuri is like this genius. Vibranium is like the best metal in the world, and it can do all these things like kill people and all kinds of things. So it is like the vision of even how it looks, like the Afrofuturism of like the costumes. I could go on and on about the costume. The ways in which Ruth Carter blended sort of traditional African wardrobe from different tribes in different countries, and also like modern looks. I think one of the more stunning looks in the movie is the king of the river tribe, or the leader of the river tribe, and he's in that green pinstripe suit, and he has that traditional African disc in his mouth, and it just is like, whoa. So I think those are the main, so that is just kind of a look thing of like the world in which it's created. So the sort of plot is T'Challa is being crowned king of Wakanda after his dad's untimely death, and it's a little bit about how he maybe doesn't feel like he's 100% prepared to be king. Like, his dad, died in kind of an unexpected manner. And then it's this idea of like, sort of the combining of this like diaspora sort of Pan-African view, right? So then he has this cousin that shows up that grew up in Oakland, which is hella Black. Can I say hella? I'm gonna say which is hella Black, but like very specific African American culture. He's raised in this sort of like Oakland, like Black Panther, sort of. Then you see these kind of this colliding because their dads were brothers. T'Challa's dad was king of Wakanda. His younger brother was a spy stationed in Oakland. Falls in love with an African American woman. Has this son. Sort of the backstory is that Killmonger's mother, Eric's mother, was imprisoned, and the scene that opens is they're trying to break into the prison to get his wife out. And so then it's just like this clash of cultures, and then what does it mean to be king? How do you step into kind of your purpose when you feel unready for it? What is your responsibility for sins of the past, things that you maybe didn't do yourself? How do you bring reconciliation and healing? And I think, yeah, I would say, I don't know if that feels like, for me, I feel like those are the major questions that the movie is asking.
Yeah, I feel like those are some of the main themes. And then also, kind of like the themes of the women who are like really like they're like over. I love that. I love that it's like the women are the warriors,
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot of like themes of like Black women and excellence when it comes to that too, that I thought was cool, like a reverence and a respect for Black women, and they weren't viewed as weaker than, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. And also not a threat, right? Like when it's like, it's that we talk about this in one of our episodes of like, it's like we're strong, but that's threatening to Black men, it's threatening to white women, and he does not see them as threats at all. They are his allies. When he goes on missions, he is excited. I mean, he tells his like best friend, male friend, no, you stay here and I'm going to take Nakia and Okoye. And so yeah, I love that. I mean, the vision of Black women, dark-skinned,
yes,
Black women
keyword
in Black Panther is just second to none. It just feels like very seen. Okay, Faith, what do you think are the themes that resonated with Black people? Like, why do you think this was just such a phenomenon within our community? I don't know about you, but I saw it like 6 times in the movie theater. But it feels like something shifted with the movie. Why do you think that is?
It's like what we all dream we could have. Like we all want a Wakanda, a place where we feel that we belong, where we can lead, that hasn't been colonized. Like it's just kind of like you get to go into this world that you wish existed, and I think it was also seeing the brilliance and the excellence on display and being able to connect with that and to see yourself in characters as a Black woman, to see other darker skinned women on the screen, and so I think something that people miss or may not understand is how important it is for us to see ourselves.
Yeah.
How important it is for kids to see themselves.
Yeah.
And the fact that most kids didn't have a Black superhero. Like there weren't, like I was growing up, there wasn't a Black superhero for me to be like, wow, that one's for me. Like I was loving Batman and Spider-Man and there's nothing wrong with that. But to have a Black superhero, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is cool. And the kids felt that too. And so I think it just felt like the culture got something. And I think if you are in majority culture, it's sometimes harder for you to be able to see how so much is with people that look like you. And when you're not in majority culture, you can easily spot out like, okay, well, I don't see myself in this, or this. And so I think for the Black community, it was being able to see ourselves. And that was just so incredible.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that was a big part of the movie's why people, like for Black people, it was so transformative, because we'd never seen. And I will just say, like, the movie is just Black excellence. I mean, Ryan Coogler, if you have not seen, I will never watch it again, but if you've not seen Fruitvale Station,
oh yeah, that's a tough one.
Creed,
he did phenomenal.
Creed, I mean, the woman who did, I mean, and even in behind the scenes, the collaborators, Ruth Carter, the costumes, the woman who was a cinematographer, her first name is Hannah, I can't think of her last name, but like, you see that the way in which Ryan Coogler sees Black women comes through in the vision of that movie, right? And so even just the importance of who's behind the scene and the way the story is told. I personally, it's played for comedic effect with Winston Duke and M'Baku, but when I can't think of his character, but the CIA agent comes with Ramonda and Shuri and Nakia, and he starts barking and he's like, "You cannot talk." like that moment, like, because it is just, you know, I again have lots of white friends who I value so much, but like when you're always in majority culture and you're always in the position of like having to like list, like there's just a certain way in which you have to move in that space.
Mm-hmm.
And so a world in which we can tell our own stories and have our own conversation, and a way in which this sort of like, you are an outsider here and that there's a respect that comes with that, and that also to his character then respected that, just felt also too, I mean, it was really funny, but also just like the world in which you could have that moment of just freedom of like, we can have a family conversation and you can be a part of it, right? Like you can be in the room, but also this conversation is not for you.
Right.
I loved that moment. And I just, I think for our kids, for our daughters, to see women celebrated in that way, you know, just there was a thread that went around after Chadwick passed away of like kids dressed up as Black Panther, and it wasn't just Black kids, there were kids of all kind of races, but just the power that has for our children. And sort of the same way that when Barack Obama became president, then it was like, okay, when Black parents tell their kids they can be anything, like now they really can be anything, like they can, because they can, there's a Black man with hair like them that is president. And I think, you know, for T'Challa, like, and also too, I mean, just the way he carried himself, right? Like he was very regal. He's very smart. They have all this technology. Shuri is like a genius, might be the smartest person in the Marvel universe. You know, maybe kids are now engaged in math and science in a way that they wouldn't have been before, because it's like, oh, there's someone who looks like me, who's smart and really cares and can do design, and you can do all these things. And so I think, it just opened the world's imagination. I do want to say, as like, we did not have a Black superhero on this level when I was growing up, but I do want to shout out Robert Townsend's Meteor Man, if you have not seen that. And I think Damon Wayans did one too, but I can't remember what his superhero was called. It wasn't the same because it wasn't on the scale, and like they didn't, obviously Hollywood, which this is a whole nother conversation, didn't support those movies the way that Black Panther was supported by Disney and the Marvel universe. But
they were Static Shock.
Static Shock. I want to. A Storm is that Marvel? I think that's Marvel. But yeah, so I think that's so important, and but I want to shout out our precursors. But Black Panther was a game changer.
Yes.
Okay, so what about for you personally? Like, what resonated like most with you personally?
A brilliant, Black, excellent world that has never been touched by colonialism.
Yeah.
Like, everything about it. It's just, like, I just love it so much. And I remember watching the movie, and then it's like, you know, it looks like it's nothing, just the bush, you know, and then they zoom in, and then it's like this whole world. And it's kind of like this idea, right? This idea that, oh, see, like there's this negative perception of the continent of Africa and the countries there, that, oh, it's just this, you know, there's little countries, they're so poor, and in reality, the continent of Africa is actually a very rich continent, and they have been, you know, had all their resources.
Well, and that's why and that's why they wanted to conquer it, right? Because it was naturally resource very rich. We just didn't get to mine and use the resources ourselves. And in Wakanda, they do.
Yes, and so it's like, this is what y'all think we are, but let's just zoom in here, and that's like, it's like, what? Like, and it's like this whole world, you know, and it's incredible to see. And so I think for me, it was just like, yes, like, come through with the whole world that's just amazing, and all these natural resources and technology. And I think the reason why I also really loved that is because it's like that in the movie, and it feels so real, but also there could have been really a Wakanda had resources not been taken, you know, and had people actually had the opportunity to make their countries into what they, you know, desire to, with the resources that were there, and to become even more prosperous. Africa as a whole continent would be different. And so I think is kind of like seeing what could be and also it could have been in a way, you know?
Yeah.
And so I really took that away from it, but mostly like the camaraderie, the family orientedness, the community, the communal aspect of everything. I think really speaks a lot to our culture, and but also like the reason why it's so important too. So that's what I would say for me, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is, I'm gonna go back to the woman thing, and I've written like extensively on this. There's a piece I wrote on Christ and pop culture called "The Role of Black Women in Flourishing in Wakanda." But one of the things, there are so many little things, and these are just some. So the god that gave them vibranium, Bast, is a female.
Mm-hmm.
The first person to say Yahimbe, which is, you know, hold fast, and then becomes their world. Uh, their sort of rallying cry, is a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Nakia is this ambitious woman who is a spy who has left Wakanda. In the first scene of the movie, she's rescuing women who've been kidnapped by Boko Haram. Like, the vision of Black women and what they are feels the most true to who we actually are.
Yes.
That I feel like in a lot of ways I have seen on screen, at least in my recent memory, because Okoye and Shuri and Ramonda and Nakia are free Black women. Like, they
Yes.
are fully themselves. They don't have to compromise. And that T'Challa respects that. Like, he is not about breaking them or bending them. The way in which even like Shuri's his little sister, right? And so there'd be this,
Mm-hmm.
like, they have this, like, you know, like, they rib each other, but it's not like he's like, I'm the king and you need to make what I make. And when she says to him, just because it works fine, it can't be worked better, he kind of makes a joke, but then he lets her do it, you know? And I just think like the vision of that and the flourishing and how much, I don't know, I guess, and I will say this. So one of the things I think that really stuck out to me is like with Killmonger. Now, I love Michael B. Jordan, and he is a very
Beautiful man of God. Lord have
fine
mercy.
man. God really just outdid himself with that boy. So attractive. But Killmonger, if you notice, his girlfriend who helps him steal the vibranium, break into the little museum, he kills her with like not even really a second thought. So really the idea of like one way you can distinguish what is a good king and a bad king is how they treat women. And in Wakanda, like if
Mm-hmm.
the women are not flourishing, nobody is flourishing. And I just think that that is such a reversal of our society, American culture, even
Yeah.
within the Black community, how oftentimes Black women are marginalized, even among Black men. And, you
So
know,
true.
we talk a lot about this in the show. We could go back to the whole thing with Meg
Mm-hmm.
the Stallion. And I feel like I love T'Challa because I love a man that loves women beyond women that are his wife or his mother,
Yeah.
and is invested in their ambition and in their flourishing as if it was his own. And I
Yes.
just think we don't see that enough on the screen. And,
So true.
you know, I could go on. Okoye, a queen. when she says to, I can't, what is his name? What is Daniel? I can't remember his character's name.
I don't
When he
know.
was like, would you kill me? Would you kill me, my love? And she's like, for Wakanda, I would.
Yeah.
Just like,
Yes.
yes. We do not like this sort of sad, like, oh, I need to
I
give up my
have to
whole life,
have you.
my
Mm-mm.
whole
Nope.
identity for a man. She's like, no, boo. Like, my first loyalty is to this community, to this whatever, and it is like celebrated. I love. Um, yeah.
So, okay. So I would probably say we probably have like two more questions because I feel like we've been talking this whole time about why this movie is like incredible and so important for everything that's happening just in our culture. What would you say though, like how has, Chadwick's death affected you? Like, how have you been feeling since hearing of his passing?
I feel like it was devastating. I really feel like 2020 is a trash year. Like, it is a trash year. My grandmother died in April, this pandemic, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Rashard Brooks, Jacob Blake. Like, it is enough. It is enough. 2020 has its foot on our necks. And I just felt like I was totally caught off guard. And someone texted me that he died. And I was like, or texted me a picture of a tweet that said he died. And it wasn't the official tweet. So I at first thought, like, this is just a really cruel hoax. And then it just, I got the New York Times alert, and it just was like, I bawled. Like, I was devastated because I feel like he was, and he is, a Denzel Washington, like a younger, just so immensely talented, but beyond its talent, like his person, like even at not knowing him, the way he came across in interviews, I would encourage people to go and find that Howard, I think he gave the Howard commencement speech. Just the way he committed himself to telling Black stories and he was a superhero in T'Challa, but like Jackie Robinson was a superhero and he played him like a superhero. And like Marshall, James Brown had his issues, but like the ways in which James Brown changed the game in terms of Black musicians. And even his character in Da 5 Bloods, where he, the character, I think Delroy Lindo's character says, like, he was our Malcolm and our Martin. And it feels so much with Chadwick, like, that he was that kind of person, right? Like, as much as his, like, just dignity and restrained and beauty and just the way in which he's just celebrated Black culture and Black story making and saying, like, we have a rich history that is not just suffering and slavery. Look at all these innovators. Look at all these creators. Look at all these people that made something out of nothing. This is you. And what a gift. What a gift. I'm going to try not to cry. What a gift. It was just, I don't know. I just feel honored to have like lived during his brief, I think what Ryan Coogler said, he was like a shooting star or something like that. I feels like that. And it was, what a gift to have witnessed his shine for as little as we got him. I feel really honored to have gotten that.
I know. It's just been so brief and incredible to have been able to have witnessed his life and be alive in the time that he was. And I'm still very tenderhearted about it. And so I think when I saw the news, I saw it when it first came out, and I was like in shock. And I thought it was a joke because I saw somebody retweet, but it was the retweet of his official statement on Twitter. And then I went to Instagram and I was like, holy cow, it's there too. So this is real. The one thing I've been reflecting on is the fact that like nobody knew besides like his family and his wife. And the fact that he knew, he knew that his life was going to be short. He was like stage 3 with colon cancer when he found out. And I mean, it progressed to stage 4 into stage 5. And I just think of like, people who made fun of him saying, oh, you're getting so skinny. And like, then he has to like take his pictures down off social media and like just said mean things. And gosh, you just never know what somebody's going through. And so I just think that the fact that he made all these movies, he didn't complain, he did his best, he showed up, he did his job, and he just wanted to live his life to the fullest with purpose for the time that he had. And he knew his time was limited. It's just so incredible because he made such an impact in such a short span of, a few years. He filmed a lot of movies, and he really made an impact on so many of us. And every tribute I've seen people make has just like brought me to tears. Ryan Coogler's brought me to tears. I don't think Lupita Nyong'o's done one yet, but when she does, I'm sure I'll cry. And I've been thinking about her a lot, as this might be really hard. The loss. It's just, oh Lord, I don't know. It's been a sad one. And I am learning how to hang on to hope but also let myself process grief and not wish away grief, and not wish away these moments. But this has been a painful year in so many ways, and I kind of have some place in my head and heart that's like holding my breath a little, that's like, I just need this to slow down. I need some more happy, and I need less tragedy.
And it's like, I think one of the things that you said that really resonated with me is like, he did all these movies, these iconic roles while he was sick and no one knew.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, not even his coworkers. I mean, I think like Michael B. Jordan, which I didn't realize, said he basically has known him since he was 16 years old. So like, they had this long-standing relationship, and it really speaks to me about the ways in which we are forming one another in terms of like who we see in Michael B. Jordan is a reflection of his relationship with Chadwick. And he talked about like, I dedicate the rest of my career, I'll be thinking about you and the roles that I take and the ways in which I carry myself from all these conversations we've had over these years. And I just think like, I don't know, I feel like one thing I think I have taken away from this is I think I can be very cavalier about my words and like impact on people. And I think, you know, Letitia Wright, who played Shuri, did one movie with him, and like she did a spoken word today, like on her Instagram, that was so moving. And it's like, you know, and these conversations matter. It all matters. And I think he's someone who treated it like it mattered, and he was serious. And I am inspired, I think, by that, to just be more intentional on how I relate to people, and people that God sends into my life. I think is one of my big takeaways from Chadwick's life. We kind of already have talked a lot about why the movie was so significant. I guess for Faith, like, what do you think is like the big takeaway from Black Panther, and what do you think its like legacy will be in the pantheon of Black culture?
I think one of my biggest takeaways is that the movie was written so well and so moving in terms of the complexities of the Black American experience, the African experience, but finding a way to blend the two and the love for the culture. And it gave us something to look at and relate to and to celebrate. And I think one of my main takeaways, and that I hope that we can continue doing, is creating art, music, videos, you know, movies, and things that connect us as a community of Black people, and to not underestimate the way that art unites us and connects us and tells stories that we want to see told. You know, who would have thought? I know Marvel didn't think that Black Panther would be so significant to us as a community, but it was. And the intentionality behind every single detail, I hope, has inspired other people to be so intentional about, like you're saying, what you say, what you do, what you produce, and realizing that it can actually shape and form a generation. You know, it can bring people together. It can cause celebration. Like, there's so much beauty that can come from it, right? And so Black Panther brought people together, I think, in a way that we needed to be, and it gave us some hope and inspiration, I think, in a significant way. So that's one of my main takeaways. And then hope for the future. I mean, gosh. Okay, so I don't want Black Panther to die out, and I don't want it to be like one and done. So my hope is the franchise continues.
Yeah.
I know that was the plan, but I'm sure things have changed, you know, with Chadwick's death. But my hope is that the franchise would still live on, because, you know, we've had 50 million different Supermans and Spider-Mans and Batmans, and so don't end us now, basically, is all I'm saying. Like, I hope it carries on.
No, I don't think it'll end. I mean, to me, I think I love, like, they won a Screen Actors Guild for Best Ensemble Cast when the movie came out. And so, like, I don't know if that's very common for superheroes, the number of Oscars they were nominated for. Ruth Carter won an Oscar for Best Costume for that movie. yeah, I love that movie so much, and I hope that it does not die out.
Me too.
One thing we didn't really talk about, but I think is also a significant part of the movie, is in Killmonger and T'Challa, you see the kind of Malcolm Martin debate, right? And so like Killmonger is like, quote unquote, the Malcolm stand-in, and T'Challa is the Martin Luther King stand-in. And I think one of the things, to your point, that Ryan Coogler did really well is like, this anger is justified when he says, you know, when his dad is like, "You're no tears for me," and he's like, "Everybody dies here." Like there is there's a reason for his anger, and it is, he doesn't try to diminish or say it's not valid, but he does, I think, very subtly say, like, we have a responsibility as a family to address that anger, if that makes sense. Of like, it's not his, it shouldn't be his burden to bear alone. There's a societal cause for this anger, this brokenness. And there has been an abdication of responsibility. And then you have broken him and broken people, you know. And so I love that T'Challa, you know, stands up to his dad in his dream and is like, we created this, and like, you were wrong for what you did to him. And because I think sometimes those stories can be boiled down into like, well, you shouldn't be angry. Like, it's fine. Like, show what, your uncle killed your dad. Like, so what? You have no reason. It makes sense. It's fine. Get over it. You know, whatever. And so even that Killmonger is the villain, but the way in which he tells a story with such nuance and beauty, I think is really great. And I think, you know, there was a big debate when the movie came out. It's like, was Killmonger right? Was T'Challa right? You know, whatever, which is just a like perennial Malcolm Martin thing. And I just think we don't have to set those two them against each other, because I think ultimately, like, obviously I think Killmonger's methods were not good. I think as a Christian, like, just being committed to nonviolence, like, his methods, but his mission was not wrong, right? Like the liberation of Black people, because then you see at the end of the movie, between Killmonger and Nakia, T'Challa is like, no, we have been wrong to hide our resources and our skill and our ability from the rest of the world. Like, we do have a responsibility to engage and heal and try to help heal what's broken. And so I think this goes back to this idea of like Pan-Africanism and like our communal common struggle together. So I would hope that's like a big takeaway from the movie, is like, I think, one, the vision of Black women, but I think two, like, we don't have to set these two characters or archetypes against each other, but like, what is the mission was the same. Like, the heart of it is I can't think of the word, but like the core of it is like the liberation, freedom, justice, equality, thriving of Black people. Is a word. Yes, it's the method, and is a noble goal, and like a vision of flourishing that is just about you and your tribe is too limited, I think. Exactly. A big takeaway for me. So, guys, we love Black Panther. We love you, Chadwick. Thank you so much for what you gave us. And we are just so honored to have been a part of your brief but wondrous life.
I know. We're so grateful. Y'all, we are thankful that you have joined us for our special bonus Black Panther episode. So we hope that this has been great for you to have and to reflect on. And we'll be doing a few more of these here and there. So thanks so much for being a part of our Patreon community and hanging out with us. We will talk to you all soon.
Bye.